Right, let's get more on this then, and some legal perspective, of course, on this matter. We're now joined via Zoom by Reitumetsi Benedict Phiri to weigh in on these latest developments. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Flo. The pleasure is mine.
Well, let's start here. It seems as though the LPC was forced to act in this regard. Let's talk about this decision and what it actually then means for, I suppose, former advocate Teffo. And I do understand that there were 22 complaints lodged with the LPC.
Yeah, I think the LPC was compelled to act after having received 22 complaints. And I think this matter actually started in 2021. And some of the complaints range from Advocate Teffo taking money from clients directly in instances where he shouldn't, forging attorney signatures and correspondence, threatening clients, in respect of repayment of monies, and misleading the courts. And when you think of the test for being a legal practitioner, the test is fit and proper, but essentially that speaks to honesty and being honorable in the conduct of your profession. And those complaints did not indicate that Advocate Teffo was one that should remain in the profession. And I think the judgment speaks for itself. And certainly, I think it's correct that he should be struck off the role of legal practitioners.
Well, you anticipated my next question. I was, in fact, going to ask you if you think that this was well deserved. You seem to believe so. He's described as a delinquent person. I mean, is there any, sort of recourse for him at this point? I mean, with any decision that's made, one knows there's always a way to appeal a certain decision. And so how much leeway does Teffo then have when it comes to this particular decision? Seeing the kind of man that he is, I highly doubt he will take this sort of lying down and not want to appeal this particular decision. But maybe paint a picture for us of what is actually open for him in terms of appealing this decision.
He may try and appeal the decision, and if he had to do that, he'd have to show that there's reasonable prospects of success, that a different court may come to a different conclusion, or that the exceptional circumstances that would afford him the right to appeal. Cases of attorneys and advocates being struck off the roll are replete. There are many of them. But this conduct in particular is one which the courts take a dim view on. And he may actually remediate himself. After a number of years, he may reapproach the court and say that he is now a fit and proper person, and the court may then allow him to practice as a legal practitioner at that point in time. But that test will then be taken by the court in that particular point in time, and will have to assess whether indeed he is a fit and proper person to be admitted into the profession. It won't be easy an appeal, because the test is actually quite a well-developed test, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Even Nelson Mandela, his admission as an attorney, there was a test that was applied by the courts in this particular respect. And Advocate Teffo's conduct is unfortunately dishonorable to a degree that it will take a while before he rehabilitates himself and would be in a position where a court may see him as fit and proper to re-enter the profession. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of those, I suppose we can call them charges. But interestingly, though, he hasn't been found guilty of some of the things that, that were put forward to the LPC. I mean, some of them include him being investigated for corruption. There's some case about assault as well. But I also want to speak about this issue of him receiving money directly from clients, as opposed to him receiving briefs from attorneys as he's supposed to, as an advocate, and the serious nature of that, because advocates are quite strict when it comes to how you receive those briefs, and certainly you shouldn't be directly dealing with a client, particularly when it comes to financial remuneration. I think for the sake of our viewers, if you can take us through that so that there's an understanding of that for our viewers.
Yeah, the legal profession in the country, follows what we call a split bar system, where there are attorneys such as myself who take instructions directly from the public. And then in respect of court matters, we would then brief advocates such as Advocate Teffo to appear for clients. Advocates are effectively court specialists in the sense that that's all they do, and they don't get involved in the rest of the admin that attorneys such as myself would get involved in. So that system has been operational effectively as long as the legal system has been operational in this country. And the reason for that is to separate the roles between advocates and attorneys for the sake of the profession. So advocate therefore then effectively broke the rules, and a long-standing rule within the profession. Whether he likes it or not, that is still the rule, and those are still the rules of the Legal Practice Council with respect to how matters are taken on from a client perspective. There are instances where advocates may practice as what we call trust account advocates, where they are entitled to then receive monies from the public and take instructions from the public. That is a new dispensation that has come about over the last 2 to 3 years. But Advocate Teffo was not a trust account advocate. He was still a referral advocate, meaning that he needed to ensure that any brief he receives comes directly from an attorney in adherence with the rules. So that is a serious charge that he has been found on. And this goes to his conduct as a legal practitioner. So there may be instances where maybe you have a parking ticket, which, someone may say lawyers should not get parking tickets, but that doesn't necessarily go to your conduct as a legal practitioner.
Yeah.
Whereas actually obtaining briefs directly from the public is directly linked to your conduct as a legal practitioner. And that's why there was censure in this particular respect.
All right. It's always great having you. Thanks very much for weighing in and certainly your analysis. Reitumetsi Benedict Phiri speaking to us. He's a legal analyst there on, of course, the issue of Advocate Malesela Teffo being disbarred. The news coming in certainly today.